Hello and welcome to the Tuesday evening emotional awareness discussion. And I'm not one for big intros. I like to just get down to business and say I have with me this evening the guest, Jonathan Troen, who is going to be talking to us about self-love and possibly a bit of yoga, some mindfulness, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot more come out in this conversation, but I'm so excited to just get started. So hello, Jonathan, and thank you for joining me this evening.
I'm so happy to be here and share emotional awareness, share self-love, all of it. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Very welcome. So yes, I'm sure we'll have some visitors join us live in a moment. And I tend to keep Facebook up over here so I can answer anything if I need to, or keep an eye on what the comments are. So if anybody wants to come on and watching this on replay as well, because it will go on YouTube afterwards live. I do every week. I put these on YouTube. So if anybody wants to catch the replays, I'll put the link for that in the chat as well later. And always appreciate any likes and thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe if you're on the YouTube channel. So self-love, absolutely. This is a really powerful topic right now, because there's one thing is about we all are very good at deprecating ourselves and knocking ourselves back. And so tell us a little bit more about where this self-love movement is going for you.
Well, it's about that. We are so good at talking negatively about ourselves inside of our head, outside of our head. Oh, I look horrible today, don't I? Right? How many times we go, doesn't this look great on me? It's the I look horrible today. And it has dire effects on us. And we need to change the dialogue with ourselves. If I used to be the biggest bully, not to anyone else, to me. And if you think of it, if we begin to analyze our self-talk, for most of us, we would never be friends with that person. If someone spoke to us the way we speak to ourselves, we say, I'm not going to be your friend anymore. You're too mean to me. I'm going somewhere. I'm playing with other people. But we can't do that. We can't leave ourselves. But we can be kinder to ourselves. We can begin to change that dialogue to ourselves so that we can begin to become our own best friends. And that's what this really is about, becoming our own best friends.
That's amazing. Yeah, I love that thought. That's what I always said. And the way I've always said it is, why would you say something to yourself that you wouldn't say to somebody else?
I love that. I've never said it that way. I am using that. But exactly. And, that's what I tell people. Okay, if you're feeling a certain way and you don't like it, I go, picture a friend. Picture a friend walking in, and your friend tells you they're feeling exactly what you're feeling right now. Oh, I just did this and this happened and I feel horrible. Picture what you say to the friend. What are you saying to them? And now, okay. Well, and what would you say to your friend? Your friend comes to you, I'm getting divorced. What would you say to your friend? Say that to yourself, which normally would be, I got your back. I'm here for you. I'm not leaving. You need me? I'm here. And can we begin to, not that we don't want connections, we do. We need connections. We thrive on connections, and we need to be there for other people, and we need to rely on other people. But we need to rely on ourselves first, and we need to have our own backs and give ourselves that support.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I got that back to front when I was listening to what you're saying. Good evening to Yvette. She's in the room. Hi, my front row lady's here every single week.
Hi, Yvette.
So like you said, when somebody comes in and they're upset, we support them. But when we're upset, we sort of tear ourselves apart. And it's much easier to say to somebody else, oh, it's okay, you'll get through it and everything's going to be okay, and to be really positive for somebody else. But it's very hard to do that for yourself. And I know it's like levels of self-talk, isn't it? There's levels of communication, and it's about building those up and changing that vocabulary over time.
It's changing the vocabulary we have with ourselves. And it's changing our relationship with ourselves and with people around us. Most of our time is spent trying to impress other people so that we can get them to give us accolades, to appreciate us, to love us, right? I'm going to act in a certain way so that you, Kay, like me. So at the end of the show, you're going to say, hey, Jonathan, hey, it's so fun to meet you. And so that's supposed to be my goal here, to make you like me. But that's icky. We feel icky in our skins when we're always trying to impress someone else because we're never in ourselves. We're trying to be a different person than who we are. And we stop liking that person who we are. And when that person shows up, we say things like, you're not good enough, and that's never going to work out, and don't even bother, just go back on the couch and watch TV. Why show up? They're not going to like you anyway. Yeah. Don't show up. They're not going to like you anyway. Like I feel it because I used to be that. Like it's easy for me to go back there because that's how I lived most of my life. And I started to change the relationship with myself. Now I love myself first. I go, Jonathan, you're awesome. Now, I want to be clear. It was a practice. It did not come out day one. The first time I tried to say, I love you, it was, Jonathan, I couldn't speak the words. True story. That was an exact quote. Wow. Now I can say, Jonathan, I love you. And what happens then is that the people around you are more likely to gravitate towards you because you emanate a more positive energy, and people like to be around people that feel good, right? We don't like to be around the downers. We like to be around the uppers. You be the upper.
Okay, yeah, can do that.
But it comes from within, but not to impress other people. You become an upper by being kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Right? It's a different kind. We think we have to put on the upper costume. Okay, I'm going to act like this. No. Take it off, be you, love you, and you become that. And that's the difference.
It makes so much sense when you put it that way. I wouldn't have thought about it like that. Yeah, people want to be around positive energy. I know there are people who actually kind of on the opposite. They deal with that negative self-talk by being around people of equal energy as well, because it makes them feel better. So there's the other side to it about relationships, but certainly, being positive helps people to like you, and I like that. And I also noticed that you've put the little heart behind your name as well. I've never had anybody do that on this show before, and I love that. That's brilliant.
Oh, thank you. We have to send the love out into the world. This is the self-love revolution, and it's about loving ourselves. But to be clear, the purpose is so you can share it with the world. It's not for you to keep. So that's just a little way to share it with the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And not to share all the negativity and the hate and the anger, and there's too much of that goes around. If you want that, just turn on the news channel. But we need to change the world and be more positive, more loving. I get it. And I think there's other ways to it, because although I've done that to myself as well, I've been there negatively. When you were saying about, hey, and they're not going to like you anyway, that makes me think of like narcissism and how other people would actually manipulate you to thinking like that. But is it almost like a form of self-narcissism?
No, well, narcissists don't feel good about themselves. Right? So there are two sides of it, right? So there's the bully and the victim, and I'll put the narcissist in the bully category. I get that technically there are differences, but that person that tries to overdo it, right? See me, I'm going to overpower you, and the person that pulls away and hides in the corner. Now, I was the person that went in the corner, hid, pulled away. Okay, but the self-talk, in my experience, the people I've worked with, in my research, it's the same. I'm not good enough. So for me, it was, I'm going to run away and not show up and not be seen. Of course, we have a human need to be seen. So we try and hide and be seen at the same time. Now, our nervous system has this conflict: be seen, hide, be seen, hide, be seen, hide. Yeah. Now, the bully narcissist also has a self-talk: I'm not good enough. So I'm going to put on the costume, I'm going to get the voice, and I'm going to prove to you that I am good enough, whatever it takes. And you will bow before me. It's an exaggeration, but that's kind of what it is. I'm going to mold people to my will. I'm going to force them to like me. You have, because that's what our mission is, to be loved. Our mission, the number one driver for everything we do on this planet while we're alive is to be loved, to experience the sensations of being loved because they feel good. That's everything. So the narcissist is, I'm going to force you to love me, like me, honor me. If we can begin to give that to ourselves, right? So the number one driver of everything we do is to experience the sensation of love within us. If we can now give that to ourselves, we no longer have to hide in the corner, because we hide in the corner because I'm afraid you won't like me, right? I want you to like me. I've already prejudged myself. I don't allow you to judge me because I'm too afraid of it. So I judge myself first, right? Okay. Yes. And that's part of the problems. We prejudge the judging. You're going to judge me, but I don't want to hear it. So I'm going to say, well, she might judge me poorly. I'm going to run away, not even face judgment. If I love myself already, I can show up here and allow myself to be judged by you. You love me. To be clear, I want you to like me. I will feel better if you like me. It's true. And that will be really nice. And we can have a connection, and human connection is great. And if you don't like me, I will go back and I will still look myself in the mirror and say, Jonathan, I love you and I got your back. You're perfect just the way you are. I don't have to hide anymore. And the narcissist and the bully, they don't have to force you into some situation which is uncomfortable for you because they already love themselves and don't need to force it out of anybody else.
No. And I think, that's really well explained. Thank you. Very good. And I was trying, because I've sort of been in relationships in the past where I've been very much controlling and manipulative. And like you say, it's very much about they're not confident in themselves. And again, they've learned not only to be negative about how they feel, like you say, but just project that as well. And like you say, you want people to like you and you preempt that, but it's almost like they've flipped it on its head somehow. But yeah, and so a lot of people, it's unintentional, don't know they're doing it. And the same with self-talk. So how to become aware? How would you suggest somebody becomes aware of this and aware of their self-talk?
That's a really good question. And it's simply by noticing. See, we're not aware we're doing it because it's subconscious. We've been programmed, right? We go to school and we're taught, we were put in a room and said, look around, this is your competition here. Someone's going to be number one and the rest of you aren't. So everyone is all of a sudden our competition. And we get these marketing messages. You're not good enough, but buy this car, you'll be good enough. Buy the phone, you'll be good enough. Buy these shoes, this house, this whatever it is, buy this, you'll be good enough. So it becomes very programmed into our subconscious. Then we're taught, don't think bad things. And if you do, there's something wrong with you. And change your thoughts and change your life. And now it's your fault that you're thinking bad things. It's not your fault. If I want to make anything clear, it is not your fault the way you're thinking. You are thinking exactly how you were programmed to think. And there are thoughts that aren't beneficial to you. Begin to notice your thoughts. Notice when you're talking negatively to yourself. Notice when you say, I'm not good enough, or I'm so dumb, or this isn't going to work out. Or words like, if you're giving, if you're trying to explain something to someone that it's, I think, people, I'll say, I coach people also, so what do you want to do? Well, I think I want to. That think is an excuse not to be able to do it, not to achieve it, right? So it's just, don't beat yourself up for it. Just noticing it. Noticing when you say words like think, but, try. Try is another one. I'll try to do that. No. Didn't Yoda say this, right? Either do or don't, but don't try, right?
That's my guilty one when I say I'll try.
So when you begin to simply notice these words and notice how you're talking, it begins to go away. That's not the end of the story, but that is the first step, is not beating yourself up for you speaking this way, but noticing that it's happening, bringing it from the subconscious to the conscious. Now once it's conscious, you can do something about it. And there are many different tools. The one that's coming up for me, it's not usually the one I give right away. So I don't know why it's coming up for me, but apparently someone must need to hear this. I don't know why.
Go ahead.
But go, okay, you want me to? Yeah, I get. You want me to say? Okay, fine. I'll say it. That's how it works. Okay, you say, what thought would be better for me right now? And simply by asking the question, it will implant a new thought into your mind. What thought would be better for me? What beneficial thought can I have right now? What is a more productive thought, or just a productive thought for me to have right now? And it will pop into your brain. Boom. You didn't beat yourself up. You didn't have to shoo another thought away. You never said, oh, don't think that. You just implanted another thought, which took that space. And it's a beautiful way to practice.
So it's sort of tied in with manifesting, really, isn't it? When we talk about mindfulness as well just before we came on. But when you talk about manifesting, if you say, oh, I can't do it or something versus, oh, I can do it, that makes a difference already with the outcome of anything. And it's the same when you say, oh, I'm not good enough, or versus I am good enough. Instant you say it, it's making a difference to the outcome that you're going to get. So
I take it as yes and.
Improvisation technique. I love that. Go ahead.
Well, it's about saying it, but the problem with and in my belief, the way the law of attraction is taught, which I'm a believer in, but it's not always taught fully. And plus there are 11 other laws that go along with it, and you have to know them. But we say if we change our thoughts, if we just say different things, then everything will change. But many of us then did that, and I did it too before I learned the whole story. And I would say things, I am good enough, but my body didn't believe it. My body didn't believe it. So then I would feel this weirdness in my body. It has to penetrate into your body. And a lot of that teaching does come from this book, Think and Grow Rich, right? And Bob Proctor talks about that book, and they all talk about that book. But what the book says, and what word isn't often taught in this context, is emotionalize. Napoleon Hill says you need to emotionalize the thought. If you do not emotionalize the thought, it does not work. And if your body is having a negative reaction to the thought, it might not be a good affirmation or mantra or whatever it is. More powerful, sometimes I'm going to go back to the questions. If you can't say, I am good enough, if your body clams up when you say that, or whatever affirmation you want to say, switch it to a question. How am I good enough?
Wow.
Instead of saying, I am rich, if you don't believe it, if your body reacts to it, how am I rich? Because asking questions sends your subconscious mind on a mission to find the answer. It will not stop till it gets it. It's true. Like, have you ever been trying to solve a problem and then you give up? And then you go about doing your business and you're cooking, you're taking a shower, and then you get the answer? Has that ever happened to you?
Yep. Actually, I had that exact conversation with my guest last week when I was saying about my son being suicidally depressed. And I got to a point where I hear so many other parents saying, oh, I give up, that, they're in the bedroom playing on the Xbox, can't get them out, they won't eat the dinner or eating junk. Like, the parents are saying, oh, I give up, I don't know what to do. And I was always saying, look, I'm not giving up. What else can I do to save my son? And I came up with the answer. I came up with an answer nobody's come up with before. But that was because I asked the questions of myself. But it's funny how we can do that in one area and then ignore it in another area of life. And the other one I found really difficult this year was changing it all around my money mindset as well. I've actually had a completely separate set of coaching around money mindset, but it's all ties in, doesn't it?
Well, it's all the same. And, it's fine. The first year I did Self-Love Revolution, which was a few, I don't know, maybe 4 years back or so. I don't know, maybe 5. I get confused. Money wasn't a part of it. And I just did, we learned about the 13 saboteurs, the inner critics. We learned about the inner power and your inner guides, and the 4 pillars of self-love: acceptance, gratitude, forgiveness, and the words of self-love and self-compassion, and really practicing it. And then I discovered after all of that, that everyone still had an issue about money. So I created a whole module, which is part of the program now, is Master Your Money Mindset. But it still has to do with the same thing. It still has to do with subconscious beliefs about not being worthy of money. The root of all evil. Terms like filthy rich. Filthy rich is an interesting term because there's no opposite that we have, like beautifully rich. And it is true that some people are rich and do horrible things with money. I grant you that. Hey, I live in America. I see we buy our government here. But there are very rich people that do amazing, kind things with their money and are changing the world with their money. They are beautifully rich. So, but it's that subconscious programming, which again we have to catch ourselves, notice it first, and then ask, how am I rich? Well, I'm in this house. Well, that's pretty awesome. I got running water. Not everybody in the world has running water. I got roses in my front yard, roses in my backyard. I got there's so much. I have a computer. I got special lighting here, and it's like there's so much proof that I'm rich. Now, I could also focus on the other side. I want more, and I could focus on the lack. I could tell you everything I want that I don't have. But that's the mindset. I go, I am rich, and when I am rich, more comes to me. I open up a door to invite it in, to allow myself to experience richness, so that I can do beautiful things in the world with that richness.
Yes.
And it's you have to understand, it's a rewiring of your subconscious belief system. And to your point, that's what the questions do. And I want to say this because it's important, because you said something before when you were talking about your son and asking the question and the answer coming from you. Most of us ask questions of other people and we think everyone else has our answers. Now, I'm not saying don't take advice, not to ask someone who's walked your path before and get their advice. But they don't have your answers. You can take my course. I don't have your answers. I guide you to your answers. I will get you your answers, but I don't have them. You have your answers. And when you ask questions of yourself, like you did, Kay, so powerful, you got the answer that nobody else had, because we all have our own answers, but we have to ask the right questions.
Yeah. And it's so fascinating hearing it now. I'm realizing even where I'd struggled with different things, and some things I can be really good at and confident and go, yeah, of course I can do that, and I think it's realizing that the same applies, this self-talk, across all aspects, because we've got different areas of life, home, work, education. And when you get people who go to work and they're placid, compliant, very conscientious worker, yep, I can do my job. I'm good at this. Yeah, you want that done? I'll do that for you. And then they get in the car and they're complete road rage all the way home. And then we forget to carry it across all aspects of life. And then I've noticed you get people who are completely emotionally intelligent at work, but don't know how to handle a family and hold it together. And then you get other people who are amazing family people who just fall apart at work. So it's about just reminding people to take this across all areas of life. And like for me, I'd got everything else pretty much there, but my money mindset I didn't realize how bad it was until this year. And so I've been working really, really hard on that one.
And it's also, so when you go through this journey of practicing kindness towards yourself, fully accepting yourself, including the things that you don't like about yourself. There are things I wish were different, but I embrace them and I hold them with kindness and compassion as I would a dear friend. When you do that, you begin to show up at home and at work and in these other places as the same person. See, right now, most of us have a different facade. I have my work facade, and I have my school facade, and I have my home facade, and I have my go out on the boat facade and my party facade and my networking facade and my parenting facade and my child, because I still have parents facade. And right, we know when we go home to family, we regress, right? There's all kinds of studies on that. And there are all these masks that we wear.
Yeah.
And one day we want to take off that mask and show up at home. And here I am, and show up at work, and I don't have to pretend that I'm someone else to impress you anymore. Here I am, and I'm damn great, and I love myself, and I am here to help you. I'm willing to do my job. I want to do my job because I can infuse goodness. Even if you don't love your job, you can infuse your own goodness into it, and maybe you do love your job. Masks are exhausting. Take them off and learn to be you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's such a big thing in like you say, when you're putting all these masks on, it's tiring and hard work. And that was one of the things my son was afraid of, really embracing who he was when he was going through that depression. And we was trying to say to him, we just want to help you to make changes for the better, to make changes to improve your life. But he said, if I make changes, I won't be me anymore. And that's where we kept saying, no, if you make changes, you'll be more of who you are, not less. And eventually he did. It was like, oh, wow, yes, I am still me. I'm actually a better version of me, a bigger version of me. And he's like, oh, my God, no. Once he got it, shame it took him till he was nearly 20 to get it. But once he got it, he came out of all of that depression and just an amazing young man. But yeah.
And the other side of that, and I hear you. I hear you. And thank God he got it when he was 20.
Yeah.
People come to me when they're 30 and 40 and 50 and 60 and have been struggling with it for 10, 20 and 30 and 40 and longer.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't want to diminish what you said. I hear you. And what a celebration too, that still so young and he figured it out. Oh, I just got chills saying that. I'm it's truly wonderful. I'm really happy for you and him.
Thank you. And for you, I mean, you've done an amazing job and actually turning this into something to pay forward, and the ripple effect of that is incredible. And again, that positive energy vibrates, and we send it out, and it spreads and it helps other people. It's amazing. So
well, I kind of had to. It's like, look, before I went on this part of my life journey, if you want to call it that, I spent 20 years in the entertainment business. I had what everyone would call the life of their dreams. I was interviewing the biggest stars in the world. I lived 3 blocks from the beach. I could see the sunset out my window. I could have my feet in the sand in 10 minutes. It was awesome life on paper.
Yeah.
But something in me, my head was still saying, well, that person is more successful than you. You're not good enough. Well, look at that person there, what they're doing. You're not good enough. And it was just this self-talk, which I didn't know then. I didn't understand it then. I didn't understand all of this. But I was just sitting there beating myself up nonstop. So I left the entertainment business trying to figure out what was wrong with me. And what I discovered was wrong with me was that there was nothing wrong with me. That's the whole thing. There's nothing wrong. Are you serious? There's nothing wrong with me. I don't need to change. I don't need to pretend I'm that person. I can just be this. I'm like, whoa, that was crazy talk that there was nothing wrong with me. And then I began to accept myself, step 1, then to be kind to myself and to love myself, step 2. And then before I learned self-love, I learned kind of the confidence skills. Let's be confident, and goal setting and some of these other things. And then finding the self-love piece along with forgiveness. I realized that they were huge parts of it, because, you can take all the action in the world and it'll make change. Don't get me wrong. But if you don't have a good relationship with yourself, you're still going to hate your life no matter what you accomplish. And by the same token, if you just sit there all day and go, I love you, you're awesome, but don't take action, nothing's going to happen. So with the self-love revolution, to me, it's what I created in my life. I figured I can put this together because I found all the confidence and goal setting over here, and I found gratitude here, and self-love was here. And then at the very end, I found this thing called forgiveness. Oh my God, the most important skill that's never taught. Changed my life. That was the final missing piece was a forgiveness practice, a daily forgiveness practice. So I put it all together, not for you, not to share with the world, but to live my life. And I was a lot older than 20 when I figured this out. Oh my God, I wish I had figured it out.
There's a lot he's still figuring out, but he's way ahead of me.
That's okay. Me too. But then when I really did figure this out, when I learned that I could be happy now, when I didn't have to wait till that changed for me to be happy, because I'd make these goals and I'd get them. I get all these goals because I knew how to get them. But then I wasn't happy. I'd get it, I'd be elated for 2 minutes. So not like I got every goal I ever wanted. I had lots of failures, tons of failures. Okay, I want to be clear with everyone. Tons of failures, tons of successes. And it didn't matter whether I failed or succeeded. There was still somewhere further for me to go in order to be happy. And when I learned that you could be happy now, and I discovered that there were so many other people like me, that I wasn't alone in this. Because for a while I thought I was the only one. And then I'm going, oh, everybody's like this? Everyone's telling themselves they're not good enough? All those people that I've been pointing to saying, they've got to figure it out. He's got to figure it out. She's got to figure it out. When will I figure it out like them? What? They're messed up too? I was like, oh my God. So once I figured it out, I said, I gotta share this with people. And I just taught a workshop at our yoga studio, right? We have a yoga studio here in Austin, Texas. And, I teach yoga. We have a bunch of teachers. We teach yoga, and we have workshops, how to fix your back, how to fix your neck, how to, all these workshops. And I said, I'm going to do, and I did my life mastery coaching work. So I'd have these life mastery coaching classes there as well. And, here's how it came up. It was one year, and I remember it was January. So in January, everybody new comes, right? So I was doing a life mastery class, and there was a whole room of people there. And I normally would start out going across the room going, why are you here? What do you want? What do you want in life? And they, everyone answers in one sentence. And I go around the room, and about half the room said, I want to like myself more, or I want to love myself more, or self-love, or some frame of that. And I go, oh, wow, people really need this. And I had, it was about a year before where I came across some of Louise Hay's work and really began delving into self-love and started practicing it myself. And I'm going, oh, but I hid it because it was still a little woo-woo to me. And I still was life mastery and success and all that kind of stuff were the words I used, even though I started bringing elements of it in. But that was a lesson for me, the universe telling me, you got to start teaching this. So then I did. I said, okay, you guys want it. Let's do it. And so I taught this whole workshop, minus the money part that we spoke about, which I then added. It is a part of the course now. And that's really where the movement started. And it's humbling to be in a room full of people whose lives are transforming. I will not say I transformed anyone's lives. I did not. But I was a catalyst to allowing them access to transform their lives.
That's a nice way of putting it. Yeah.
And it's a humbling experience to witness that kind of change. And then there were people that couldn't make my weekly classes and said, can you put it online? And, it took me about a year or so, and I said, but I committed to them. I said, yeah, we're going to put it online, and it's there. And, I still feel weird saying it, but it is true. I believe it in my heart that this is the most powerful work I've ever created. It has transformed my life. It's what I practice every day. It's how I exist in my days, exist with joy and love in my days and I want to be clear, includes sadness and difficulties, but I don't run from sadness anymore. Sadness is beautiful. Anger is beautiful.
Yeah.
All of it's beautiful. I feel all my emotions now, right? Emotional awareness. I have no negative emotions because all my emotions are beautiful, even the ones that I used to call negative.
That's a really lovely way of looking at it. You embraced them all.
Yeah.
Embrace
I'm
them.
not wrong for being angry. Have you ever met a person on the planet that has never been angry?
Not yet.
Yeah. So why are we telling people don't be angry?
Yeah.
It's human to be angry.
It's amazing.
People say don't cry. Why not?
Yeah, no.
I'm human. Why do I have tear ducts?
People cry for a reason. Positively, we cry for happy things as well as sad things, but we all need to cry. And our body's full of chemistry. And if we don't cry and we don't get angry at times or don't get out for that walk or whatever we do, that chemistry all builds up in the body. And if we don't release it, it becomes illness, physical illness.
That's right.
And so, yeah, just as we're even thoughts, anything you think about, if you think about something stressful, you're building up stress chemistry. If you think about something angry, you're getting the adrenaline. And they're designed to actually make us move or run away, like fight for something, fight or flight. And if we let that keep building up without taking action, then, like you're saying, just keep thinking things over, we're building that chemistry up and it's making us sick, literally, physically.
Literally. And it stops us from achieving what we want to achieve in life because we can't take the actions we want to take. Or if we do take the action, they don't have the results we want because our brain is still telling us that we don't want it or we're not good enough. So we can't get it. And of course, we try and heal it up here in the brain. We have to heal it in here in the body. This is where your answers are. This is where the non-processed, what you were talking about when we're not processing these emotions, this is where it gets stored.
Yeah,
so when
you feel
the stress, let yourself feel, I am stressed right now. I feel my heart beating. I feel the tension, or I feel the knots in my stomach. Don't fight those knots. Don't fight your beating heart. Let it beat. It will stop on its own if you stop fighting it. It really will. I know it's scary. I know it's scary to let those sensations take over. But suppressing them hasn't worked for you. You know it hasn't. So try, experiment with something else. And experiment with just saying, when you feel that stress, going, stress, okay, I see you. These words are from Thich Nhat Hanh. I see you. I hear you. I will not fight you. I will be here for you as long as you need me to be here. And when you say that to your stress, to your anger, to your sadness, it may get worse at first. It might. But if you really hold that space for it, it will begin to dissipate because it's doing the processing that you were talking about. We have to treat ourselves differently and accept the gamut of emotions that we have been offered to experience.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it's amazing how we do feel things here. You know, when you say you feel brokenhearted or something, you really do feel it. It's like it's tension and ache.
Yeah.
And the same, like you say, gut feelings. You can end up with real bad stomach ache, especially if you're coming up exams or you get really bad tummy ache, or you're going to go and meet somebody new for the first time romantically, you get the butterflies in the tummy. So we actually have all these physical sensations, and they tell us something about what we're saying to ourselves. When you get those, you know, you're sitting at home on a day when it's quiet and no one's around, and then you get these sensations kick in. It's like, what is it telling you? And what do you need to tell yourself to make them go away again? Yeah.
Except we don't want them to go away.
Or to feel better. Yes. It's like if you've got negative, if you are really feeling hurt by something and it's perhaps something that's gone a long time ago, or you're beating yourself up. What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Maybe you should be saying, what did I learn from it? What did I do right? And it's turning that around. Yeah.
So you're bringing up, we're back to questions again, reprogramming, right? And picking the right questions so we can ask, why did this happen to me? If you ask that, you'll get the answer. and you will ignite the victim, one of the 13 saboteurs. You'll ignite the victim and you'll get your answers, and you can be the victim. Or you can ask, why is this happening for me? Now, it doesn't mean, especially if somebody else was involved, that someone else did the right thing. Now, the person's still a jerk, and screw them anyway. I got your back. It's fine. They were wrong. I'm with you. They were wrong. But we can still ask, why is this happening for me? And that will send the subconscious to search for that answer of, given that it happened, what benefit can I gain from this? You get the answers for the questions you ask.
Yeah, I like that one. What did it do for me? Yeah. And we can all learn from things like that, and not beating ourselves up about what did go wrong or what happened, but what's it given us now? Yeah.
And forgiveness.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is such an important practice, the most important skill that we were never taught. We have to learn how to forgive. And most importantly, forgive ourselves. We think forgiveness is just someone else apologizing to us or us apologizing to someone. The words are apologize, certainly, but the words are kind of meaningless. Forgiveness is, again, an experience in the body. But most importantly is forgiving ourselves for things that we've done that we wish we hadn't done, and for things that we didn't do that we wish we had done. If only I had done that, then my life would be different. All those stories that we replay over and over and over in our heads. So how do we release ourselves from that self-talk? By practicing forgiveness, by knowing that person, that younger version of ourselves, or maybe the yesterday version of ourselves, or hour ago version of ourselves, did the best they could with the information they had at that moment in time. And if we can just honor that,
yes,
and hold space for that human being, not saying it was right, screwed up, okay, not saying it was right, but holding space. You did, wherever you were in your life, you did the best you could with the information you had, and love yourself. Like, go to your 16-year-old self, and go to your 21-year-old self, and go to your 35-year-old self. Go to those ages and go to that person that made that mistake and say, I see you and I hear you, and I love you just the way you are. I don't care what you did. I'm here now and I have your back. And that will heal old traumas that were formed so that you can live today with freedom.
That's beautiful. Yeah, that's lovely. And I think that's something we all forget to, or not even something a lot of people would even think about doing, is looking at earlier versions of ourselves and thinking how that became who we are today, what we've left behind or ignored or tried to hide about things we've done in the past or things we've been through in the past. And I love that concept. I did do some work with somebody last year, or they did some work with me with that, about journey healing, as she called it. And I know there's different names for it and different therapies, but I did it under the heading of journey healing. And I love that concept of going back and saying, so what, and when we all think about who we are, I mean, our body is like regenerated entirely with new cells every 7 years, and yet we are still the same person we were when we were perhaps 2 or 3 years old. When we first developed that personality, we sometimes don't change that much in what we feel at heart. And it's like going back and saying, well, what do I think I did? What do I think I did wrong then? What do I think I did right? And like you said, embracing that. But too many people look back on the past, I think, and disassociate that with who they are today. And I love what you
deeper, we sometimes hate that person.
Yeah.
Who did that thing when we were younger and didn't know any better, or didn't have the courage hadn't been taught that courage is a skill to be practiced, so therefore didn't practice courage. Not your fault. You did just as you were taught. So then we look back and we're so pissed off at that person. But that person is still here. Even though it happened in the past, it's still here today. So that self-loathing of the past shows up today. And look, I didn't write the laws of the universe. And, I tell my students, look, if I could make new laws, I would, because I don't like the laws the way they are. But the laws are the law. I don't like gravity sometimes. When I trip and my face hits the pavement, I don't like it, but I don't go, damn, gravity. I don't want it. There's gravity exists. And these other things are real. And this would, see, here's the thing. When I learned about this was woo-woo talk. And I know some people still think this is woo-woo talk, but this is Western medicine now. I don't appreciate experiments on rats. However, they did experiments on rats, and they traumatized rats. Mm-hmm. And when they traumatized rats, the rats of the DNA changed. This is Western medicine, Western science, right? Everyone's follow the science. This is science. This is real. More than that, that new DNA was passed on to their children, their offspring. Ah. So you're holding the traumatized DNA of your parents, your grandparents, all the way back.
I've heard about that, but I didn't realize it was DNA level. That's interesting.
Yes, DNA. Mm. So 10 years ago when I learned this, it was woo-woo. Now it is Western science. Now here's where it gets interesting. This part has not been proven yet. It's still woo-woo, but I learned it from the same teachings from thousands of years ago. And the way it was taught to me, that when there is an incident that's not released, how you were talking about letting it release, and it causes a trauma in the body, they called it knots, right? I'm not a Buddhist, I'm not a Buddhist teacher, but in the Buddhist philosophy, there are knots in the body. And people even say, I feel these knots in my stomach. That's what I call knots, right? So, and they teach these knots, because they didn't know what DNA was, these knots are passed on to your children, your descendants. What they also teach, so now that's Western medicine. What they also teach is when we practice, now they teach the sitting meditation, but there are different ways to it. I practice sitting meditation, do it. But there are these other emotional awareness and emotional intelligence techniques which untie these knots. And when you untie the knot in yourself, it gets untied in your offspring, even if they're alive. Now, that's the ancient teachings, woo-woo stuff, not in the Western medicine right now, not in Western science, not proven. But neither was that other stuff. So I'm going, well, if those guys knew that knots were formed when we were traumatized and it's passed on to our descendants, and they're saying this is true, I don't know it to be true, but I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that it's possible. And when we have the scientific expertise to measure it, right? Because we didn't know what DNA was, back then. When we have the equipment to actually do these experiments and measurement, my guess is we're going to prove that to be true. We have to begin to untie these knots and to heal the traumas that are in our body, embedded in our DNA, that happened either to our ancestors or when we were kids.
Wow. I'm blown away by this, because this is an area I've not looked at yet with all the DNA, and this is just absolutely fascinating. I'm definitely going to be going up and looking more about this.
It's fascinating, right? It's like, it's like mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So now it's, well, how do we if we traumatized and changed the DNA, what they haven't done the experiments for, although there are some, if you look at the trauma research and the polyvagal theory and some of this work, there is some of it there, but how do we return the DNA to its original state? Mm-hmm. That's what this work is about. That's what emotional awareness is about. That's what the self-love revolution is about. In some, I'm trying to think of the right word. In some philosophies, they would say reinstalling your original blueprint, the blueprint of when you were born. Oh. I don't know how to install blueprint, so I'm not going to tell you that one. No. But that's a part of it. So it's bringing the DNA back to its original state, and that is by a practice of acceptance. But what's meditation? Meditation, if you go to the underline it, whether you do it for 5 minutes or an hour, is accepting the present moment as it is, observing and accepting the present moment without judgment. That's mindfulness, and that's the beginning of the self-love practice. That's the beginning of emotional awareness. What am I feeling right now? What does anger feel like? Okay, anger feels like in my chest. What does sadness feel like? And it's interesting because we use the same word. I feel it in my stomach, but sometimes sadness is in the throat. Sometimes sadness is in the chest. Sometimes it's in the head. We all call it sadness, but they're actually different experiences that we don't have the different words for. And we have to get down to the experience.
Yeah, I actually have an interesting theory about that, because they've already now proven, again, scientifically. Now, despite the fact that for as long as I can remember, and I don't know for how many years this goes back, we've talked about feel it in your heart, feel it in your stomach. I know as a child, it was like Daddy's gut feeling, you know, that I didn't want to go to school this day. And now it's been proven we've got not just a brain up here, but brain cells around the heart and the stomach or the gut. And it's because it's only recently come out more about the heart, but the gut was proven a few years back. Now, you're saying about the throat as well. And then others like your diaphragm can lock up. And the other thing is, obviously, to do without going too in depth, the organs down below, when we're talking about things, you know, somebody's got to look a pretty picture and they might get a reaction, or a hunky man, and you get physical reactions and you get these feelings. So I would not be surprised if at some point science proves there is a brain for every one of the 7 chakras.
Oh, wow. Mind blown and exploded. Yeah.
Because so far they found 3 of them.
Right. That is fascinating. That is fascinating. And, you know, I believe, look, you know, 200 years ago, you would have told people we're going to have planes and fly. They would have told you were crazy. You're lock that person up. But everything on this planet and the knowledge was here for us to fly. We just hadn't unlocked it. And I like you, I believe we will have the equipment to visualize the soul. Right. We have MRIs that can read the brain, right, and know exactly what the brain is doing. We didn't have when I was a kid, there was no MRI machines. I don't know when the original technology really started, but there were no MRI machines to the public when I was a child. And I believe, I don't know if it'll be 100 or 200 years, but there'll be a machine that can be like an MRI for the brain. It will see the soul. We just don't have the technology yet. Okay, well, we couldn't fly. We certainly couldn't be on a computer. When I was growing up, we couldn't video conference on a computer like this. So
do you know what?
We will have so much more understanding of this.
I think maybe I need to get my name and my diagram in. That might be something behind it when it happens.
Yeah, I love that. I love each chakra has a brain. I'm gonna delve into that.
I think that's where science will eventually end up. That they will prove there'll be something linked with the brain and the feelings we get with all 7 of the chakras. I think ancient knowledge has got something we've lost. I think somewhere along the line, civilization has lost something on a mass scale. I don't know how or why, and we are only just beginning to catch up again.
Yeah,
and nowhere near actually getting back to where our ancient civilizations were. I think there's something massively lost along the way. But I think yes, we do come from caveman, but I think I think we've come from caveman and gone up, and then I think there's been a big drop off, and we're almost coming back up again now.
A huge drop off, and it's a beautiful time to be alive because it's going back up, and we're very reliant on science, and the science is catching up to a lot of it now. Right? We're witnessing that the DNA has changed. We can see when you meditate what happens to the prefrontal cortex and to other parts of the brain. So the science is catching up, which is allowing all of us to go, oh yeah, let's learn this. You know, I grew up learning that if a brain cell died, it was dead, it was gone. And now we know neuroplasticity is real, and you can rewire, create new neurons and rewire neural pathways and do all these things. And it's an incredible, incredible time to be alive.
Oh, absolutely. So much so. And there's so much I think I still want to keep asking you, but I'm aware of the fact that I know you've got to go in about a minute's time for another meeting. And I feel like we could do this all over again. So maybe
I'll come back anytime.
Fantastic. We'll book you in for later in the year, because I think we're just touching on some subjects where we could really just lose ourselves for another hour.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. And I really, truly appreciate you coming on the show this evening and talking about self-love and awareness and self-talk and all the mindful, you know, all these mindful strategies of talk, you know, this whole communication with our own bodies. It's incredible. And it's such a good way. You know, we talk about meditation and mindfulness, and that's a really good time to sit down and just take all of that in and turn that around. And I like that, asking questions as well. So I love how you say about asking yourself more questions and embracing it across all aspects of life. That's been a really, really good evening. So I want to say thank you so much indeed.
Thank you for having me. Truly, thank you for having me. I've had such it's been such a beautiful conversation.
No problem at all. Thank you so much. And so I'll let you leave, and then I'm just going to do a quick wind up with my guests before I follow out.
All right.
We'll speak again soon. Thank you, Jonathan.
Bye-bye.
Right. All right. Thank you everybody for watching in, or if you're catching the replay on Facebook later on, or YouTube, because I will put it on YouTube as I do every week. They're all over there. So if at any point you want to find past videos, it is much easier to go to YouTube and find them all in one playlist than to try and search through the depths of Facebook. So please, I will put the link down there. Please do go over, do subscribe. It all helps me to keep going, because even a little like or a thumbs up or an extra subscriber, it's like a form of self-talk to me, saying, yes, I'm doing something right. And we all need a bit of self-love, but we also need a bit of support as well. And that includes me. I'm not completely bulletproof when it comes to being totally independent. I like to be a little bit appreciated too. But I do love doing what I do with emotional awareness discussions. I love having people like Jonathan on the show, or we had Angela last week talking about all teenage emotions. It's amazing. And I love being able to get on this conversation with somebody. First time I've ever spoken with Jonathan. Unfortunately, we literally had about a minute and a half to chat before the show. Instead, we should have had about 15 minutes, but it ended up being about a minute and a half. So it's, you know, that is literally the only time I get to know this person before I come on camera. Next week, I'm just thinking we have, next week is the one that's a little bit different. It should be John Hoyter. And we will be talking about aerotoxicity. So it's going to be more of about a health one next week, and about some of the challenges he's been through getting aerotoxicity recognized as a diagnosable disease, or it's actually registered as a disease now. And also how that's affected him and his mental health and his recovery journey from that. So that's next week. This is going to, again, be a very passionate and powerful talk next week. Somebody who truly, truly believes in their topic, and someone I have actually had the opportunity to have a bit of a discussion with beforehand. So that's going to be interesting. So thank you so much. And I hope everybody's enjoyed tonight. Thank you so much to Yvette for sitting and watching in live. And I know we've had a few other people in and out as well. And I look forward to seeing you all again. I'm going to keep this short tonight because we went way over last week. And I'll see you all again at 7 p.m. next Tuesday. Good evening. Thank you.